Hey everyone, I'm Filza. I'm a second year law student at Warwick, and I'm just going to talk you through a little bit about what a law degree at Warwick actually looks like, what you can expect, some of the experiences that I had joining the law school, fresh from A levels. So to start, I thought I'd just explain a little bit about myself. So I'm second year law at the moment. I'm going into my third year in October, and I actually didn't study law for A level. So when I came to university, it was kind of my first actual knowledge of what law is, what law looks like, what do you learn about in a law degree. So I think kind of to start off, even if you don't do law as an A level, don't worry, because as I'll go on to say, like, that's what your first year is for. So I'm part of quite a few societies. I'm part of Law Society. I do some stuff with the Bar Society, and I'll go on to talk about some of the other societies that everyone talks about as well. I'll tell you a little bit about kind of the joint degrees, what options are available there, what skills I think are important kind of from your transition from A level to university. So yeah, that's what I'm going to kind of generally talk about, and then you guys have the opportunity to ask questions afterwards. If you have anything that you want to follow up on, or if there's something that I've not spoken about, feel free to ask a message. So to start off, law degrees vary across the country. I think every law school has their own kind of set modules that they do, set kind of criteria that they have, modules that they allow students to do. So I think kind of for the base of a law degree, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but there's such thing as a qualifying law degree. So there are certain modules that you have to do to even get a qualifying honours law degree, and those include stuff like criminal law, property law, contract law. But I think some of you might be aware that the new SQE is coming into place, so I think because of that, a lot of law schools are changing what they offer, how their law degrees are structured. So kind of everything I say is how my law degree's been so far, but for some of you it might be that they've taken out certain modules or they've put in other modules that they think are important. So I think in the back of your mind, kind of when I'm speaking, just remember that the SQE is a thing. I can't tell you much about the SQE. I don't think a lot of people can tell you much about the SQE, which is replacing the LPC. If you're not sure what that is, it's just kind of the exam you have to do to become a solicitor. So I think that's something like, when you go to universities, when you speak to kind of academics, ask them, how is this going to affect my law degree? But kind of when I did it, when I was in my first year, now that I'm doing my degree, the qualifying modules are, criminal, tort, property, contract, constitutional, trusts, and they're ones that you have to do regardless of what other modules you do. So at Warwick, when I was in my first year, I didn't get to pick any modules. We were given our modules, which were the key core modules, and then we were given a few extra modules just to kind of help us understand. And I think the reason the first year is so important is because, like I said, I came from a non-law background, so I didn't actually know much, and first year was about bringing everyone onto that same level, because everyone will have different experiences, everyone will have different knowledge of the law, and that first year is really to just kind of get everyone on the same level, make sure everyone knows what a law degree consists of. And then in my second year, currently I do 2 core modules. I did contract law and constitutional law, and I did EU law as a half module, and then I got to pick. So I had 3 modules that I was able to pick, and I picked IP, medicine, intellectual property, that is, medicine, and criminal evidence. And I picked them because I thought they were quite interesting. I had spoken to people that had done the modules before me. I spoke to some of the professors, and it was just kind of the areas of law that I was interested in. I think a lot of people have the perception that a law degree is sometimes quite boring or quite lame, or it's not that interesting. And I think, there are aspects that are quite boring, but I think every degree has that aspect. So I just wanted to tell you about a case that I think is quite interesting. And it's a very important case in law, probably one of the first cases that you will ever learn when you, or if you join law school, and that's the case of Donahue and Stevenson. So in this case, 2 women go to like a cafe, and one of the ladies buys a drink and a cake and gives it to her friend, and her friend drinks a little bit, puts a little bit on her cake, eats her cake. She's going just eating her cake and drinking her drink, and she pours it in, and a slug comes out of her drink. So the issue in that case was she able to sue the company for negligence? And the reason, you know, people said she wasn't able to was because she hadn't bought the drink. She wasn't the person that had bought it, it was her friend. And that kind of issue and that case brought about the neighbour principle, which is the foundations of tort law. And it was just, you know, if your act is gonna, you know, harm someone who, you know, can be your neighbor or you should know is your neighbor, you know, then you're liable for that and you can be sued. So I think that's quite an interesting case that everyone likes to hear about, and it's quite a weird case as well. Another case is this is a bit of a weird case. So this guy is like sleeping in a house. This is Aaron Miller. It's a criminal law case, and he's sleeping in his house and he's just sat, and I think he's smoking, and he puts the cigarette down and he sets the mattress on fire, and he wakes up and he sees this fire, and he just gets up and goes to the other room. He doesn't even like try and put the fire out or call the fire brigade, or, you know, there were so many things he could have done, but he just did none of them, and he walked out and he went to the other room. So he was found criminally liable for that because he should have called the fire brigade. So I always think that's quite a funny case, because I'd like to think if it was me or you, we'd, you know, call the fire brigade, or, you know, at least put a cloth over it to try and put it out. But, you know, not everyone is like that. But yeah, so I think that kind of shows that there are a range of quite interesting cases. The facts are usually quite interesting, and they're the ones you'll always remember, and they're always the ones that everyone talks about. You know, you have kind of landmark cases that aren't as interesting, but, you know, you can't win them all. So now I thought I'd tell you a little bit about some of the societies that we have at Warwick in relation to law. So our main one is the Law Society. It's one of the largest societies on campus. We have people join us not just from law degrees but from degrees across campus. The Law Society carries out a wide variety of events. We do negotiating, mooting, and if you're not sure what mooting is, it's basically a mock trial in the Supreme Court usually. So it's usually quite technical, it's very legal based, law based, so you're usually arguing points of law. Negotiations are usually, you know, you're arguing on behalf of one company and you've got someone else you're negotiating with to try and get your points, and it's just a matter of, you know, can you show the skills, can you compromise, can you, you know, persuade your opponent to try and come to your way, you know, do you have those skills? So that's quite interesting. And then those are skills that are really important when you go into a career, regardless of whether you do a career in law or whether you just, you know, go into banking, finance, teaching. I think it teaches you skills that are very important. So, you know, they're always nice things to get involved in. We also have social secretaries, so they hold kind of events throughout the year. We have pub golf is one of our big events, and that's one that a lot of people go to. We also have career events, so we have a careers dinner. That's where we invite lots of different law firms. You get to pick what firms you want to sit with, and then you're able to network with them over dinner. We have law ball, which is kind of our year kind of get together, and it kind of happens in term 2, so February, March time, and we get together. You know, you dress up, you go to a nice venue, you have a meal. It's just a time to kind of relax, take some nice pictures. So that's always something people look forward to. We also do some pro bono work, so we do work with charities. I do some work with schools, so we go out to like different schools, we speak to different students, hold competitions, try and get them involved in kind of what law is, what, you know, what skills they needed as a lawyer. So that's something that is quite interesting and could be something that you're involved in. And if that's something you want to check out, you can always go onto their Facebook page or their Instagram page, and they always have something that you can have a look at. And we also have other societies. We have the Bar Society, and that's if you're interested in becoming a barrister, that's more directly towards that. They have careers dinners as well. They have barristers come in. I don't know if you guys have recently heard, or if you guys have read the case, but the Cherry Miller decision, which was on Brexit, the prorogation of Parliament, we had the barrister and the solicitor who argued that case come in, speak to us on an evening. We had a networking event with them, and that was in collaboration with the law school, and we had one of our law school professors come and speak to us. So that's kind of the range of events we have kind of in collaboration with people across campus, and they're usually really interesting. They have high profile people attend, so that's really good. Finally, I think in terms of the skills that, you know, you require from A levels in transition to university, is that I wouldn't say it's harder, it's a bit more streamlined in what you need. So I'd say it's a lot more academic commentary based. So, you know, you you can have your own opinion, you know, you can say this is what I think in response to the question, but you have to back it up with some sort of, or quite a lot of academic commentary. It's quite a lot of reading. I'm not sure about you guys, but when I was at school, we didn't really have to do much reading. I used to think like 3 or 4 pages for a subject was a lot, but now I've got like 30 pages. So it is a lot of reading, but it's usually quite interesting. You kind of get the skills and you can figure out which ones are important, which ones aren't as important. So I think when you're writing your essay, there's a lot more substance, a lot more kind of technique that's involved in it. And I forgot to mention, but another thing that the Law Society does is that with one of our professors, over the last few years they've run this, he does academic sessions. So he like kind of tells you, you know, how should you write a good legal academic essay, how should you, you know, how do you persuade people in an essay. So they're really, really helpful because they can help you kind of get to grips with what is needed as an essay, and it's usually really helpful. So that's it from me. Feel free to ask any questions that you may have about anything that I've said or about anything else.